video at all on you, though.
Yeah,
I can't hear you now, Jim.
Yeah, I just turned mine off for a brief moment. So.
Just wait for it.
That was a 5-second delay between when your lips moved and when we heard you.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad. So, Eric, did you get any chill in the 40s or 30s down where you're at? Are you northern
it's
Florida or
supposed to
southern
tonight.
Florida?
It's I'm southwestern. So it's supposed to be tonight going down, I think, to like 30, 39, they said. Something like that. So which for us that's pretty that's pretty cold. So
it happened to me a couple times in San Diego. We're actually in the city. It was like 39 degrees and outlying areas where crops were freezing a couple of times back in the day.
When we first moved into this house, I think the first winter was normal, but then we had like 2 winters in a row where we had hard frosts, and it just killed. Like, the plants here cannot withstand that type of weather, and so like literally everything in our yard died back to the ground, and we were just like, what the hell? What are we supposed to do now? But most of it grew back. Some of it died. But yeah, it says on Tuesday we're supposed to get on to 34, which is, if that happens, like, I have a heat pump heater. Usually when it gets that cold, it's freaking cold in the house. Like, it'll be in like 60 degrees in the house. So it's just, my girls will be whining about that. I just always say, just put more clothes on. But yeah, so all week from Monday on, it's supposed to be in the 50s, low 60s at the most. And then at night, down into the 30s. So, chilly.
Rochester starting, I think, yesterday. For 10 days, the highest it was going to get like 18 degrees. I think it's the forecast.
I got to hand it to New York, though. I came out of, I was in Albany the week before last. And, the weather came down. It was pretty bad. But the whole way across New York, the road was good. I crossed the PA border on 90 there, and I could not keep traction whatsoever. And it was the exact same weather. So whatever New York has figured out, PA needs to get on the ball, because
New Jersey, New Jersey at least, I'm pretty sure New York does too, is they spray a salt solution on the bare road before it can even freeze. Yeah, and that almost always keeps it, in a lot of cases, dry. Like, you don't even really see like moisture on the road. That's how good it is. But it's all about the volume of snow. If it's snowing hard enough, none of that stuff really helps. Or if it's cold enough.
New York just seems to take it. They take it seriously. I gotta hand it to them.
I think they've figured out that being preemptive is just the more cost-effective means of doing it, because otherwise, then if you're trying to like remove, mass amounts of snow, like, it just makes it a mess. So if you just stop it from like even, sticking in the first place.
Of course, it's a toll road too in New York.
Yeah.
I don't know how much that has to do with any of it, but when you're paying to drive on the road, you have this expectation of it being safer, I guess. But
growing up in Pennsylvania and then moving to New Jersey, seeing them repave the Garden State Parkway was an absolute mind-blowing thing, because they had this machine that would pick up the old tarmac in the front, grind it up, add more, whatever it needed, and then behind it, lay it out. And it was literally just, they would run 3 of these machines next to each other and repave like 10 miles of road a night.
Yep.
And it was just like, holy shit. It is possible to do road work efficiently. Like, yeah. I always got the sense that the PA system was really just it's somebody's fiefdom, right? Somebody has nepotism and, has installed all of their like shithead family and Like,
I don't knock them
like they
too
just
much
couldn't care
because
less.
once they get the road done, PA has got some decent roads once they're done because they've got a bridge on the turnpike down there that they are milking to the last minute. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm not a structural engineer or anything like that, and it's a huge, ambitious project, but 3 years, to build a bridge, I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
But then, then when they're done, though, you end up with a road that is 3 times smoother and 10 times more durable than anything we've got here in Indiana. I'm not going to lie. We got some of the worst roads in the country in Indiana.
Well, considering we don't have any kind of like thermal issues here in Florida, we have some of the like worst roads.
You do.
Municipalities have the worst roads. Like where I live, there's plenty of money for roadworks and projects and stuff like that, but they just don't care. They literally, like, the roads are like driving in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, how is this road so bad? There's never any snow. There's never any.
That's what I've always thought
it's
about
just
Texas, because the
terrible.
Texas roads are not good. And they've got no excuse because they can't. In Indiana, you can blame it on the plows,
Yep.
But if that was true, why is New York roads so much better than Indiana roads,
Yeah. It's just being diligent.
Yeah.
I mean, and like you said, they're doing the big thing they're doing right now, because the population has expanded so much here, and there's really not enough road infrastructure to evacuate. Like if we ever really needed to evacuate, luckily there's so many Floridians that are happy to ride out storms. But if everybody actually decided to leave, like there just wouldn't be enough capacity anyway. So they've been building out these like really intricate. I forget what the name of it is. It's like some sort of reverse clover, like pass. It's a really complicated design, and they've decided to like adopt that for all of the major interchanges.
Oh, you needn't think that's just a
75.
Florida thing. You mean the crisscross thing where they go over the ramp?
Yeah.
And that, that's. I don't know who thought that shit up, but they need to be put to death. Whoever it is.
Yeah. Well, they're doing that here, and yeah, each one of them has taken. The one they just finished, I want to say, was 4 years. That from start to finish, and they just started another one on my exit that I normally get off on, and I know soon enough I'm just going to have to start taking a different exit and like a longer way home, because it's going to be ripped up forever.
And it's so strange because you don't. Once you get going, it's kind of easy to figure out. But when you're sitting there at the light and you've never been on this exit before, it's kind of hard to figure out looking at what you're looking at because it looks so chaotic.
Yep.
Which way am I supposed to go when I get up there? Because
it seems very counterintuitive.
That's exactly the word I was going to use. Because you're going across the bridge on the left side, and then you cross back over. What was the point? If I'm just going to cross back over to the right, and then they put a roundabout on each end of that. So yeah,
yeah. Our town's gone roundabout crazy. Where like every intersection now is a roundabout, and they are effective in certain places, but.
Nobody knows how to do it.
You get so many people. Yeah, I know. That's the worst. Is everybody comes from the Midwest, and they obviously don't have a lot of circles because they get here and they just cannot figure it out. Everybody stops. It's like, no, it's a yield. Go. There's no car coming. You don't stop. But they don't know any better. So, oh my.
I listened to Linux OTC that you guys just did, which I usually don't do live. I usually listen to it like after the fact, but I happen to be sitting here and I listened to it, and I was smirking because Eric claimed that Adobe has 1 billion with a B paying customers, and Bill did not challenge you on this.
I took it as an exaggeration.
No, for all I know, they could. I mean, that is the de facto piece of software for design.
how many? There's only like what 5 billion people in the world, including infants
No,
and
there's 8
elderly
billion.
and third world, and
There's 8 billion people.
8 billion people.
8 billion. It's okay. I'm behind the times.
I have 13
Yeah.
computers, just me.
Okay.
So
That seems like a big number, but okay.
they are, though. I mean, it might be an exaggeration, but they are an example of where they're the go-to example
Oh yeah,
for
absolutely.
software that, we would kind of like. It's almost like we would feel like we won if we could get them to make a Linux version, or at least make a version that works on Wine.
Yeah, well, you heard the news story on the last show. I mentioned somebody supposedly figured that out. If you want to tinker with it, and if it's that important to you. But I also said, if you're a person that needs Photoshop or the Creative Suite, if it's your job or it's part of your job, chances are you have Windows or Mac, and you're not going to go monkeying around, forcing it onto Linux just to say you did it. If it's your part of your job, you've got a Windows or a Mac, and you're just going to keep using that if you're actually paying for the software. But yeah, I think it's interesting when they do manage to make it work, whether it's an old version or even better yet, a new version.
Well, was it you that said you used Crossover Office?
No.
Okay, it was someone that I know within my circle of people I speak to that said that they do use Crossover Office, and I want to figure out what people are using it for, that they would use that over Wine or some other specific tool, like Winboat or something like that. But there must be a reason. I mean, it's $72 or $74 maybe. I'm not sure. But I hear people, and maybe it's just they're trying to support Wine or code weavers, but I just don't know what the pitch is. Why am I spending this money every year? I mean, maybe there's some Windows software beyond, and that's again because my mind always goes to Adobe products or Office as the main software, but I'm sure there are others. I don't know.
It almost feels like LibreOffice when it comes. I mean, LibreOffice is far more robust software than I'll ever need, and it just almost feels like their only Achilles heel is the name. Honestly,
The only way it falls down is if you're one of these people that has to interact with Windows users and they're sending you complex documents with a formatting you don't want it to change one iota, because if you input into it and then send it back and forth, it gets all screwed up. So if you're self-contained, you could just use LibreOffice, forget Microsoft 365. If you're part of a team, part of an organization, and you have to interact with people, and the spreadsheets and things they use have macros and formulas and whatever complex instruments, that's where they run into trouble.
and I haven't used MS Office in so many years. I don't even know. Do they have a downloadable version of that? Or have they moved that all to the...
Yeah, they do.
They still do,
you can. Yeah, you can. And that's sort of a point of contention because they push so many people to use the online versions,
Yeah.
the web-based versions, except that they're not as robust and feature complete as the full installed version. So yeah, you kind of, if you're doing, especially Excel and other stuff, if you're doing stuff like that, you really kind of have to have it installed.
We got the opposite
Yeah,
problem.
I even just did a search on this, and the common Windows software not available on Linux that keeps people from switching is still Microsoft Office and Adobe Creative Suite. There isn't even anything else listed, and it just kills me that if that's truly the thing that's stopping you. I mean,
I don't think it is. I think people just say that. How many people have to use Photoshop. I mean, I have a friend who's a graphic designer. He's a Photoshop expert. He uses a Mac. He's going to use a Mac for the rest of his life. He would never change just for that reason, because it's essential software. He has decades of built up experience with it. But there's a lot of people who just occasionally do graphic stuff, and it's not part of their job, and they're not collaborating with other people. They easily could switch, and if they wanted to, they're the kind of people that could monkey around and try to force Adobe onto a Linux device, because it's not like a daily thing for them.
So the other thing it lists is, sorry, go ahead.
No, go. I was just going
to say the only other thing they list is games with anti-cheat clients, like BattleEye and stuff like that. So anyway.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm surprised Microsoft Office is still, quote, a barrier because of LibreOffice or Only Office, or what's the other one I have a paid version of? It's a German suite from SoftMaker, I think it is.
Yeah, that's the one I use. It's either Free Office or I can't remember.
No, it starts with an O.
SoftMaker Office.
The one that there was some debate a few years ago, because it was on Manjaro. Manjaro was shipping it.
Yeah.
But anyway, now you're right. If you get into complex formatting and stuff, the translation from docs format from Microsoft coming over to LibreOffice, the formatting can get pretty wanky.
I'd like to see it though. I've never actually seen that. I've only heard it anecdotally.
Yeah, right. Most people could get away without it. Especially people use Google Sheets now, for example. Even for non-business stuff, I have people that run like fantasy sports leagues using Google Sheets. It doesn't matter what operating system we're on. We've never discussed it. It just works. It's all online.
Yeah, Google Sheets, I think, is one of the most awful created things, in my opinion. I can't stand Google Sheets. It drives me. But it's just, I find it very annoying to use the interface and the options and stuff. It just drives me crazy. But maybe it's a me problem. So.
Yeah, nowadays, if you want to switch to Linux, there's very few people, who absolutely it makes no sense. Either you're playing one of those games, like Eric just mentioned, it's like your favorite game, it's anti-cheat, and then just keep one Windows box.
Well, when it comes to gaming, for the most part, as far as I'm concerned, because my kids are all using Windows because they're playing their games on Xbox Live. And yeah, you could get Edge and you could do the cloud gaming thing, but they're not really into that. They want to be able to play it right there, software installed on that machine. And that app,
native mode.
Yeah, that app is not available for Linux for whatever reason. So when it comes to gaming, gaming is always going to be the thing that's holding some people back.
Yeah. Speaking of Microsoft and online versions did you see that 365 or whatever had an outage? Was it Friday or Thursday? Big surprise there, right?
Yeah.
Don't you mean Copilot?
Yeah, I don't know if that was affected by...
They're rebranding.
I was talking to someone and they said, yeah, my colleagues are complaining that Outlook is having problems. And then they tried it later at work and says, oh yeah, it's having problems. So I don't know how long it was out, but I was listening to a sports thing and they were using for email. And they said, yeah, Outlook's not a thing. We can't take any email requests or whatever. So they were having and I went and looked it up and I said, oh yeah, there's an outage.
Boy, it's getting to where, technology is one of them things that you just got to hold on real tight because the ride is going to be rough,
Well, it's that whole thing. Well, it's in the cloud. It'll always be there. Yeah, until it's not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had an AWS outage. We had a Cloudflare outage here the last couple of months.
Verizon outage.
Oh yeah, I forgot about. I barely heard about that after the fact. I didn't know what that.
I heard about it like a day and a half after it happened. I've
Well,
got
yeah, exactly. I
Verizon.
heard it was about 3. It was about 3 days after. Yeah.
In fact, I think I was in upstate New York when it happened. The 2 days that I was up there, and I didn't get affected by it. So I guess maybe I was lucky. I don't know. It's getting less and less of an incentive to use Verizon anymore. And before it was like if you're going to be on the road, you need something like Verizon because they're just more reliable. But it's that's really not a thing anymore. And they're just in some cases charging twice as much for the same service.
Yep.
It's getting hard to justify it with no perks whatsoever. I've got a friend that pays half as much as I do for his phone, and he gets free Netflix and everything like that. He's on T-Mobile. I don't know. Verizon seems like they've got some things to work out.
I'm on Mint Mobile. It's $200 for the whole year, basically about $15 per month. Now that only has 5 GB of data, but I'm not driving around like you or you. I'm on Wi-Fi almost home or anywhere I go, so I don't even come close to using 5 GB of data because I just keep my phone on Wi-Fi. But yeah, it's cheap and it uses Mint Mobile network. So if you're stationary or your home or your office or coffee shop or school or wherever your work, wherever you're going, it has Wi-Fi. You don't need to pay a high price for
God, that would be
service.
so nice.
It matters a lot too what you're doing because we have I want to say it's 5 gigs. It's not very much. It might be 6 gigs a month allowance, and that's between my wife, my daughter, myself, and I'm on a company called US Mobile. So it's kind of similar to Mint, but they have negotiated different bandwidth and so they're still considered an MVNO, but I don't know, there's sort of a different tier. Anyway, their plans are ridiculously cheap. I paid $10 per line to have access, so it's whatever device. It's just a flat $10 to to be on the network, and then I have a pool of data. So calling and texting is free, so you don't have to. There's nothing to account for there, and then mobile data. You can have unlimited if you want. I mean, they sell it, but I just choose to do this family pool, and yeah, like I said, I think I have like 5, maybe 10. I don't know how much it is. I really don't use a lot of mobile data because I tend to download stuff on my phone, and this, like podcasts and everything are just like I have it on my phone, so there's no reason to use the network. But even if you do, unless you're watching like HD video or something, you don't really use that much data. But yeah, so my in-laws, I think, pay like something close to $200 a month for 2 phones and a tablet. And I'm like, that's insane. I think my bill is $37 a month, which is just like, and I don't feel like I get bad service at all. Like I'm getting,
$330 a month.
But
It's
why?
insane. Oh, because you're on the road. Your situation's different.
And it's 5 phones. But
yeah. Okay. There you go.
Even still, man, that's with a major carrier, of course.
yeah, it's Verizon and it's unlimited, everybody. But it's also paying for 2 brand new phones too, so
Oh,
Yeah.
it's worked into
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah. See, since I had an old phone, and now I have a slightly old phone, it made no sense for me to, pay full price. I'm good.
Yeah.
There was
If
a
you
lot of
prepay, it's like less than $20 a month for an unlimited plan.
yeah.
So I mean, it's when you're paying $4,000 a year for phones. I mean, and I'm not knocking you because most people do. I'm just saying, like, I feel like this is like a cheat code I figured out a long time ago. But then again, I'm not someone who has the same expectations, I think, as a lot of people where they do like everything on their phone and they don't ever really give a shit about Wi-Fi. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think they've kind of conned, like you said, they've sort of conned people into believing that that's how much they have to pay for that kind of service, and I think it's just kind of silly, but it's what it is. So,
Who was complaining about the potato chips on the audio? I say that as Bill's crunching away over there.
I thought it was being cut out. My bad.
I'm not saying I hear it. I'm just watching you, and
Oh,
I was just
okay.
thinking, I wonder if that's going to be a factor.
The last two shows, I had somebody, and it was only one time in each show, somebody took a big old crunch out of a potato chip, and I didn't realize it happened until after the fact. And then, of course, a couple of the episodes, somebody said were unlistenable, and Londoner said something about one of the episodes. I went back and listened to it, and I didn't hear any of that. So I don't know what they were talking about, but I did hear the chip. Somebody took a big old crunch out of a chip right when. So I suppose, yeah, when we're not talking, I guess we need to get better at muting the mic. I don't know, and I still don't know who it was. I know it wasn't Joe because he's the first one I went looking for, because he's usually got the noise coming through.
Yeah.
And he used to be
Keyboard
better.
shortcuts help.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
mute.
bought a little thing that's just this little button that I've got right here just sends a keyboard shortcut, and it's right here by my
that's
mouse.
great.
But yeah, Joe sits away from his keyboard though, I think.
Right.
His old
He's on the
microphone,
couch, sitting back.
yeah, his old microphone had a button on it, but then I bought him one of those, like you've got, Jim, the Samson, and once he started using that, I think he stopped doing anything with a mute button. But the chip crunching wasn't him, so I'm thinking maybe that must have been Majid, but I didn't want to bust him out in front of everybody, so I didn't say anything. I just said, yeah, we got to get better at muting when we're not talking, especially if we're going to eat.
Well, speaking of Texas and Joe, how's he doing down there with the weather? Have they gotten?
Well, let me see here.
I was just curious. I think I saw him post something in one of the
I
channels.
don't think it's hit him
here.
yet. He said he was talking earlier today, and then he said he probably wasn't going to be.
Oh,
What
something
was
came
it?
up.
Oh,
He'd gotten a generator that didn't
Yeah.
like his. Someone gave his daughter a generator, and she gave it to him or something.
now he's in the Dallas area, so northern Texas. And I don't think, oh my.
So did anybody watch any CES stuff with all the AI robots?
No, I was kind of
I
looking
only
at
heard
this. I was looking at another person got shot in Minneapolis. That's lovely. Yeah. How much of that can we take?
Yeah, big
Apparently
surprise
an
there.
unlimited amount.
Yeah, because it just keeps happening. And
Yeah, big surprise that happened again.
Wow. I don't see that. See, the thing about Texas, they can get what we would consider a little bit of snow, and the whole world goes to shit because
Yeah.
they have no budget for it down there for their roads and whatnot. And they've got a real fragile electrical grid down there. And if you ever go down there and you look at the towers, they all look rusted and old. But it takes
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, that's like the same up here in Portland, Oregon. They can handle about 6 inches of snow, but after that, it's all everything's getting shut down, and hopefully your power doesn't go off because it's gonna be a long several days. One of the ones a couple of years ago, we had a bad snow and ice. The guy was without power for like 2 weeks because he kind of lived in between. He was outside the city, but he wasn't quite in the country. He was kind of this tweener area.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, he didn't have power for 2 weeks because so much stuff was out, and the crews took them that long to. So they do the most populated areas first, and then they work their way out. So.
Well, apparently I need to get out of my basement more because it's snowing here.
Oh.
And I had no idea. We're kind of sitting on the northern edge of it, but I don't know that anything real drastic is happening yet. I don't know what Joe was what he was having going on.
At some point, and maybe this isn't interesting on this podcast, but I would like Bill to explain to me how he records the shows. I have a vague idea, but I was just curious to learn like how it's actually done.
It's
You use OBS or whatever? What do you use to record?
Yeah, I kind of bring over. I thought about making like a video if I could figure out how to like bring all of my screens, because I do use all 4 screens to kind of make this whole thing orchestrate. But I bring over, I get into the room here on Discord, and then I pop out the video chat, and I bring it over to my center monitor, and then I maximize it. And then I open OBS Studio. OBS Studio is a behemoth piece of software that will do a lot of stuff. But I capture the window that's got all of our videos in it, and the audio that goes along with that. The problem with doing that is that only gets the audio that comes from all of you guys. That doesn't get my audio, so that has to come in separately. That has to come in directly from the microphone. So you have to be careful. You got to kind of watch and see, because you can end up recording your own video, your own audio as a direct channel, as opposed to what's coming from Discord as kind of a compressed sort of thing. So you kind of have to watch the levels to make sure you're not overpowering everybody else in the recording. What OBS will do then is capture that window, because you can capture either the entire screen of a monitor or a specific window. And I'll capture the window, I put it on the screen, and then the audio that comes from that along with the audio that comes from my microphone. OBS Studio then has the ability to connect to YouTube via a combination of the URL and a key that's generated by YouTube. And that key tells OBS exactly the path to take to send the bits off to our account streaming our show. It's got all that kind of built into it. And I've got a button here to push to send the stream off, but then I can also record at the same time as I'm streaming it off. On top of that, there's a bot that we use in Discord that will record discrete audio for each one of our audios separately. And I'll use that to make the audio-only version of the show, because then I can take each one of those, and if anybody has specific needs, like if somebody is too quiet or Uh, like sometimes in the past, Eric's video or audio has had a little bit too much semblance in it, so I've had to take some of the S sounds out of it. You can do that because you've got separate audio for everybody, and that's done with a bot on Discord called Craig, and that works really well actually. I'll put that together and I'll use Audacity, and then add the theme music to the beginning and the end, and send that out to archive.org as an MP3 and an OGG. But as far as the live stream goes, that's all just capturing a window on, like what we're doing right now, is I'm capturing a window with OBS Studio and streaming it directly off to YouTube with a combination of let me look here. It's rtmp://a.rtmp.youtube.com/live2, which is a common URL that's used to stream the information off. But then the key is a secondary thing that's sent with that data that tells it this stream goes to the mintCast Roundtable, and we got a separate key for the Roundtable and the regular show. So that's kind of how that works.
Sounds like a pretty intensive manual process.
Well, you set all these things up in a profile on OBS, because you got this concept of profiles on OBS.
Okay.
So every single show has got its own profile, and which within that profile it tells OBS this is the key you're going to use. But not only that, it sets up all the codecs I'm using, and if I'm going to also record it, exactly where on my file system to record the video and all that, so you can kind of set it and not worry about it after that, as long as you don't change anything on the YouTube side. It's usually pretty straightforward.
Well, no, I'm just talking about capturing all the audio feeds.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that can be a little bit manual, a little bit...
In the old days, before Craig, and Eric remembers a little bit.
Before Craig or before Christ or something?
Before Craig. Craig is the
bot.
The bot that we use on Discord, which is, I'll tell you what, this bot has changed our lives, because prior to that, what we used to do is we would run our own recording on Audacity, and then we would do this thing at the beginning where we would do a 3, 2, 1, and then everybody would say 0, and then you would use that. The person would download all of these audio feeds and then try to line up these waveforms to where everybody was saying 0 at the same time, and that's fine and all, but the Audacity recordings tended to drift time-wise, in and out. And so you would be right on with each other in the beginning, and then a half hour down the line, we could be 3 seconds off from each other, one direction, and then a half hour down the line, we would be at least that much off the other direction, So Craig just effortlessly just keeps us, we've still got the benefit of separate waveforms for everybody's audio, but the timing is perfect every time. Even if you have somebody that comes into the middle of the show and then leaves and then comes back, it doesn't matter. Their audio will be perfectly timed with everybody else. You just ain't got to worry about it. The only bugaboo with Craig is that it's slightly compressed. You're not getting. Whereas in the past we would record like a completely uncompressed FLAC audio of ourselves. So in theory, you would get better quality sound, or you would have more bits to work with post-processing. But at the same time, it wasn't worth the trade-off, because it was harder to keep all of these. It was a lot more work to go through the entire timeline to make sure everybody's audio was lining up where it should be, because the timing was just never right. And Craig solved all that for us. So
it is the epitome of well executed software.
it is,
because it is almost painless to use, because you literally just have it. You invite it as a bot to your channel, which is what we've done. You type join as a command, and it just starts recording. And then the only thing you ever have to do is stop the recording, and then it gives you like a link to download the files in a bunch of different formats. And like Bill said, the true magic, the time saver, is that you get a file that you open with Audacity, and it just has already done all of that just awful work that everybody hates to do, of like lining it up and having it be like all like the API for Discord lets them pull every speaker's audio as a separate track. So if you did then need to, let's say your audio was too low, or somebody's had noise or something, you could still, do things to those tracks to improve them. But that awful work of trying to get everything to line up and not deal with the drift and everything, it's like magic. You just like download it and it's there, and you're like, and it's free. And you're like, okay, what is happening right now? Like,
because it was almost a fool's game, because you had a tool to get everybody lined up in the beginning, because we would do this thing where it was, what did we used to do? 3, 2, 1, and everybody would go 0, right? That's what we. So
we'd do twice. We would do the 3, 2, 1, 0, but then we needed that chunk of audio that was nobody speaking, so that you could hear the background levels.
Yeah.
And then if somebody's background was noisy, you could do a sound removal, a noise remover.
Yeah. And that's another thing you just don't have to do.
Yep.
Because it's got a lot of during the stream tools working to block out a lot of the noise and things. And then when you download it, there's a checkbox to normalize the audio. And for anybody that's going to use this tool, check that box, and then I promise you that is the only thing you will have to do. I don't have to do a single thing to the audio.
Yep.
Unless like if you want to go through it and remove like the ums and the when somebody would make a unsolicited noise of some sort, not a big deal, but you could do that if you wanted to. I don't, because I just don't.
But even then, I mean, if you have any amount of time like spent editing audio in Audacity and know the shortcuts and stuff, that part of it was never really the big deal for me. It was always just the getting everything lined up, and it was just a pain. And I would still personally, especially if I was doing something for money, I would still run it through. Hell, I can't even remember the name of it now. That web service, that German web service that
Auphonic?
Like magically makes Auphonic. Yeah. It would just be worth it to me, because how it does the level perfect, like you're sitting in the same room using the same microphones, I don't know, but whatever black magic they've got going there, I think between Craig and Auphonic, you'd have a damn close to, production quality, like, professional sounding podcast. So,
well, I mean, the Craig, when you hit the box that says normalize, it will give you everybody's waveform at the exact same. It sounds like everybody's using the same microphone when you do that, and that's a simple thing to do. Because
where's that at?
Okay, so when you end the stream and you hit stop, and then it sends you the direct message Craig does.
Mm-hmm.
You go to download it, it'll do its processing, and then it gives you the dialog box. There's a little checkbox that says normalize
Oh,
right when
okay.
you're choosing, because you've got all of these options as to what format you want it in. One of the options is to just get an Audacity file, which sounds cool at first, but it's really not. It's really just a script that gets the Opus files and then works with those. You might as well just download it in FLAC. You get a little bit more, I don't know, it seems like you get a little bit more bits to work with the FLACs. So I do it that way. But you can get FLACs, you can get Opus, you can get MP3, you can get, or you can even download it in a single file already processed. It'll use a background web-based technology through the browser to do it that way. You've got a lot of options, but if you hit that normalize button, you simply do not have to do a single thing except add your theme music to it, and you're done. I don't know how to make that sound any better than it already is. It's fantastic. Yeah. I send them a little money, because there's some projects out there that just, an open source project that is really making my world a better place. I could tell you that, because it was at least an hour. I can remember going through those Audacity recordings and making sure everybody. I would have to cut. What I would have to do, if you ever looked at my screen on Audacity, I would have everybody's waveforms, and then I would end up having to cut some people's waveforms and then stretch them, slide them one way or the other, or delete some of their quiet space to bring it back in line where it's supposed to be. And the only way I had to compare it is I would also have to record what was going off to YouTube. So I would have a recording of the whole thing, just an analog of the entire thing, if that makes sense, to compare it to everybody's waveform. It was a nightmare, So,
yep.
Yeah, this really changed our lives.
When people join the stream and you see that like fourth or fifth window come up, is that OBS controlling that?
No.
Like when Joe just joined and everything moved around?
No, that's just Discord. And I don't see Joe on here yet.
Right. I got you. That's Discord's function. I got you.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things that is amazing about Discord is as a platform and the ability to create these bots, because Craig is an example of a very specialized, very well done, single purpose sort of bot. And there are so many bots out there that do so many different things, because Discord's such a big community based, project, or people build communities on Discord, I should say. And yeah, like the amount of different bots that are out there to do just about anything you could imagine. Like there are sites called, there's one discord.gg, which is, you could just go and see like which ones are popular. But yeah, like a lot of like community based stuff of welcoming people to your community, like having like FAQs and like just basically setting it up so that it's turnkey, like you don't have to create all the rooms yourself. You don't have to like set up all the roles and all of that junk. Like it just does a lot of it for you. And yeah, it's so for people that are complaining like, oh yeah, Discord's bloated or it's proprietary or blah blah blah, like I totally understand all those arguments, but I also understand why people use it, because it is extensible and free. And I actually know a lot of people who pay the Nitro, which surprises me, because usually when something's free, most people don't opt to pay. But Discord's one of those weird ones where a lot of people like those extra features enough that they're willing to pay for a Nitro subscription. So
yeah, there's a reason it's popular. Now that I've spent more time here, I see why.
Yeah.
People talk a lot of shit, but I think it's just fashionable to talk a little smack about
Right.
Discord. It doesn't make any sense to me because I don't understand people when they say they don't get it either, because it is, to me, there's not much complication to it. If you got something that you're interested in, you create a channel, and then you could have all of these side channels for all of these different purposes. It's really a one-stop shop. And I don't want to sit here and shill all day for Discord, but it is a decent piece of software, in spite of the fact that it's evil, proprietary nonsense and whatnot, and all the things we're supposed to
Right.
say. But
I think
backing
the
up,
one big argument. Go ahead, Charles. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. The one big argument. Go ahead, and I'll follow you.
No, I was just going to say, I think the one, and this is definitely true. Like if I were to set my wife down in front of it, which is not the target audience, I get that. It's busy. Like it's a lot to look at and try to figure out like all the bits and bobs and stuff, like where stuff is, and so but it's hard. That's a UI constriction, right? Like how do you fit all of that stuff?
And for God's sake, don't change the UI.
Yeah, please don't.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry.
you're dropping
I
out?
got to
Okay.
go, Charles, so I'm going to say goodbye. I have something to do, but thank you for the explanation,
Yeah,
Bill. That
yeah.
was good insight.
So I'll expect you to do it next week then.
Yeah. That's not going to happen. But yes, the more you know, the better. Okay. Bye, fellas.
We'll see you.
Later. See you, Jim.
All right, Charles.
No, I
Go,
was
Charles.
just
Do
gonna.
it quick.
I was just gonna say earlier. We're talking about Microsoft Office and Adobe as the two things that people won't switch to Linux. But I was, maybe this is apples to oranges, but I was thinking about that other open source turd thing, Blender. That Hollywood uses Blender for like animation, and they've been using it for years actually. And I don't know how much with Blender you can do, like create videos or create other digital things to post, but you don't hear a whole lot about Blender. And as I understand, it's a pretty complicated piece of software. But
The
anyway,
Blender guys put out a movie, like a 10-minute long movie, I think every year. I mean, they do really cool stuff. I used to talk to one of their
Joe, you're
devs.
super quiet, bro.
I hear him.
Super quiet. Okay.
No,
I heard
to
him.
me, it's like you're a 25% of everyone else.
Really? Because I was cranked up
There you go.
super high.
There, you're good.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Maybe it's just the cold affecting the electronics. I don't know. It's like 20
I
out
can
here.
hear him. You hear him, Charles?
yeah, I hear him fine. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's just me then. Sorry.
So
No,
anyway, and I think Hollywood either donates, various studios donate money to Blender, and I think they might even do some development with it. Now, so anyway, yeah, I just didn't know. Like you hear about Adobe, but you don't. Some of the other open source, OBS and what is it, Krita, and some of those other ones. But anyway,
Well, we had that conversation of like the switching costs from Windows to Linux, but then I kind of flipped it around and I said, at this point, the switch cost for me to go to Windows and leave behind all of this amazing open source software that I take for granted. Like, there's some stuff on Windows. Yeah, I mean, most of the KDE or Qt based stuff runs on Windows. But there's a lot of like GTK software that doesn't, and I'm so spoiled to all of this like super high quality, exactly like excellent software that either doesn't run or is outdated or is clunky on Windows. And then we got into like software management and how easy it is to run updates and find new software and install, and like it's just so much simpler to deal with that kind of stuff on Linux than it is on Windows. Like I brought up WinGet, or being the sort of one unified way to update your software on Windows, and like how slow. And I mean, it's a step in the right direction, but it's just not even close in terms of like efficiency and ease of use and, the rest of it. But yeah. And I had also kept, like I said, saying the same two pieces of software, Microsoft Office and Adobe Creative Suite. And that's still really probably. I mean, when I go and search and it's like, what are the things that people complain about? Those are still the two major ones. And then Bill and I got into, well, maybe because of the way games have relied on Proton as a way to sort of run on Linux, even though they're not technically supposed to. And Proton runs off of Wine, and Wine's been, maybe there's something that like Valve could do to run Office or Adobe on, Linux through an emulation layer or something. And I don't know. It just seems like there's
if there's still an exe for Office, then yeah, you can make it run from Steam.
You know what I used to do? Sorry. I would just run a virtual machine. And then if I needed Office, I would just start the virtual machine and do something in Excel. And you could either run it in seamless mode so that it's on your desktop, or just have it but again, that's
you don't even have to worry about that anymore because everything runs on 365. So as long as you have Chrome.
Well, except that the web-based versions of Excel and some of the they're just not as, especially Excel. I think that's probably the one that has the greatest friction. The web-based version does not have all of the same capabilities as the installed version does.
OneNote as well.
And I think
OneNote,
Office is the same way too.
Yeah, OneNote definitely runs better in the desktop mode than it does in the browser.
Even though I read years ago that they had stopped adding new features to the desktop version, and really were pushing hard on the web-based implementation of it, but I still don't think it's anywhere. The canvas is too, it just doesn't feel as robust as OneNote did. I kind of went down that rabbit hole for a while, but then I didn't stick with it. But yeah, OneNote can be pretty amazing.
People have been trying for years. Oh, they try so hard to replace OneNote with all these things. My God.
I am an open source advocate. You guys know this. I love my open source stuff, but OneNote's just freaking better.
It's like you would have to use 9 different things to get all the functionality you get out of OneNote.
If you use it the way that it was intended, where you're mixing text and images and links and you're just checklists and it's almost like a true desktop in that sense, where you can just literally put anything on it and it handles it gracefully. OCRs, images, so that you have the text behind it. It just does so many things the right way,
Evernote came close, and then once they started locking down, for a paid subscription for it, it just I had to.
My problem
move away from it.
My problem with Evernote is that all I ever wanted it to be was a note-taking app, and they try very hard to be OneNote, and it's I don't want. If I want OneNote, I'll just use OneNote. I liked Evernote because it was Evernote. And now it's expensive now. I guess it's over $200 a year now, which is wild for Evernote. I mean, come on, But I have years. I started using it, came out in 2008, and I started using it that year. So I have notes in there that go back that far. And not all of it is crucial. I could probably get rid of it, but the lock-in is such that you can't really easily export the data. The one way you can do it that at least used to work was you'd install the Windows client, and then from the Windows client you could export a I would almost say QuickBooks, because Intuit does that same stupid crap, but has a Evernote specific file format that it exports into, and then you have to have something that can interpret that. And that's how I ended up on Joplin, because Joplin can take Evernote export files and import them. And so that's how I ended up using Joplin, and I still use Joplin. I like Joplin. It's not great, but it's okay.
I don't even remember where I started. It might have been with Evernote. It really might have. But I know I went from Evernote from when they started, limiting. Oh, you can only use 3 unless you're paying. About that time, I switched to Simple Note, which was just a simple note-taking tool.
Mhm.
No frills, no
That's
nothing.
the one from
And then
that got bought by the WordPress team, right?
something like that. I don't
I think
remember all
so.
the details on it, but I
I'm
had
pretty
been
sure.
looking for
Yeah.
something else. I wanted to try something else, and then on your suggestion, I switched to Joplin, and I've been using that ever since. And I need to get more into actually, using Markdown so that I can make my notes a little bit
Yeah.
better. But mostly, I'm just right since we changed how we did our wanderings. I put my wanderings in there. I put my journaling in there. I put my
Yeah.
tracking for my bills in there, and my tracking for my calories in there. So,
Do you
and
use the web clipper?
I don't.
You should try it.
I
It's
don't.
pretty freaking rad, man.
I did, and this will be in my next wanderings. I did switch to the beta of the Joplin self-hosted server, and I will
Okay.
say it is much faster and slightly more robust than the Nextcloud version because it actually gives you the ability to like share notes between people and things like that just with
Oh,
a
neat.
simple like right click. I can copy a
Yeah, yeah.
markdown link. I can s- what is it? I can open it in an external editor right from there. I can publish it. I can export just the one note. It's actually pretty
Oh,
cool.
wow.
Yeah.
So it's not just a read-only pool. That's cool. You know what? I forgot. I wanted to bug Jim about his very, very like convoluted way of producing the PDFs and then OCRing. And I was just sitting there thinking, I mean, it solved the problem, and I cannot complain about that. But the idea that he took ping files and turned them into text PDFs, I was just like, and then he's like, well, I need a way to search. So I found a way to search a bunch of PDF files. And I'm just thinking, oh man, like me, I would have taken the PNG files and dumped them into a note app like Joplin, right? Because then there's all of the rest of the functionality. You've got your text notes. You can even embed images if you need to, links and link between notes. You can have tags and all that stuff. And then all the searching, it would have, that was really where he should have ended up. But obviously, what he did is fine.
Right.
But like to
Right.
me,
But
it
right
was like a
click
half.
export as PDF.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, for him to look at PDFs as being like a way to save that data, which again, I get it. Like that's a way to make it usable instead of just a ping file that you would have to look at. So, but then to have to, yeah, use a different kind of search thing and all that. And I just want to be like, nope, the way to do it is to put it in some sort of a database. And those note apps all are basically like glorified databases. And yeah, so
Just use that for searching. So, Bill, when are you going to start using Joplin then? Because you could just dump it all in there.
Well, I'm kind of. I mean, because I don't. How do I answer this? My note taking
You're
is
invested in PDFs now. That's what it is.
well, not really. I mean, I use the Nextcloud tools as much as I can because a lot of what I do has to go from work I do on the road back to home, and the Nextcloud seems to be a good middleman between all that.
the
So
client
Yep.
is pretty decent too. It's super simple, which I love. Like the thing I can't stand about Evernote is their client is so convoluted and dumb. Like you accidentally touch the wrong thing and like all of a sudden it just goes like I'm like I don't even know what the hell I did and hopefully I can back out of it. But yeah, this one is just so straightforward and yeah, it's all markdown based, so it's super easy to format and
I
um,
like it when it's markdown
this
based.
but and I love that I've been using it long enough now that it's like my repository for okay, how do I toggle like the next time I install, a distro, I've got all of those dumb little like, things that I forget how to do. the tips and tricks stuff, like my own personal like repository of, uh, you know, when your Logitech mouse isn't connecting. Oh, that's right. I have to use this routine to. So that's what I love about it, and it's been a very dependable tool. I've been using Joplin for a while now. I want to
That's
say
what it was. Go ahead.
at least 6 years,
Yeah,
maybe longer.
I
I don't
went
know.
from Evernote to Simple Note to Standard Note to Joplin.
Standard notes. That's what. Yeah, and standard notes is pretty cool, but they are also expensive. That is not inexpensive thing to use.
I used them when they were free. You start trying
Yeah.
to charge me money, and I'm just going to leave. I mean, if I have to go to Ghost and turn Ghost into my own personal wiki, I will.
Now,
Yeah.
Joplin, is there like a? I've never tried it. Is there a self-hosted element to
Yes.
this? Okay.
Yeah, I just mentioned it. The Joplin beta self-hosted server, or you
Okay.
could do it directly from Nextcloud since you've already got Nextcloud made,
Right.
and you can have it encrypted so that even if other people have access to your server, then you can be the only one that can get to it because you have the password.
Like when I started using it, I was using Dropbox as the backend, and basically it was just all the files were there, and each client went to that and saw which ones it didn't have locally, and would just sync them up. So it was less of like a direct online to like pulling down and syncing and each note was just a file basically, but it was encrypted end to end. So even though it was on Dropbox's servers, like it was encrypted on the client before it was uploaded there. So
Well, I wonder if there's like a Nextcloud backend to it then.
there is.
Yeah.
Well, and if nothing else, you can just
Didn't I
even
just
have
say that?
just the,
I'm not listening,
Yeah, you
Joe.
did.
I'm
It's okay.
sorry.
he's not listening.
No, because you have options. You can either use their cloud, which is not self-hosted. That's all them.
Yeah.
You can use Nextcloud, which is self-hosted by yourself. You can use the Joplin Beta self-hosted server, which is what I'm currently using. There's a couple other options too.
Let me see. I'm gonna put it on our
Tools,
Nextcloud right
options,
Yeah.
synchronization.
So speaking of web
Dropbox
versions
is still
of
there.
web versions
OneDrive. Okay.
of a for notes, for show notes and stuff. What is that? Nextcloud's document thing,
Mhm.
which is very annoying for me to use. I can't stand that thing.
now. You don't
It
like
reminds
it?
There
me
isn't a whole lot of.
It
Okay.
reminds me of using Google Notes,
Okay.
Google
So
Docs.
here's the thing. I'm.
And
I
I've
have
whined
been.
about this before. So.
I have been. I've been sticking up for Nextcloud documents for so many years now.
You're like codependent.
I'm
You've been
just.
gaslit.
I don't even know. I don't even know what to do anymore.
love it.
It seems like
Well,
it's.
Calibra's really not that bad.
Shut up.
Caliber.
Calibre. What did it? Calibre
Caliber.
is just like
Caliber. It's
they've got
pronounced
the
Caliber.
opposite problem as Google Docs and Office 365, don't they? They didn't boil down their service before putting it online. You got full fat LibreOffice on, which is what Calibre is like the online version of LibreOffice. Okay, the reason you're being forced to use that is because I have not yet moved. On the to-do list is to redo our Nextcloud with the all-in-one Docker image.
Docker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd mentioned that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you use that, it's nothing more than a click box to switch between the two services that you have. The Nextcloud Office, which is Calibra, and the Only Office, which people seem to like better. I suppose. We haven't tried it yet, so I don't know if these guys will like it better or not.
Yeah, well, for me, it's the whole web, how do you say, interface from using an Office suite or a document system. It's just, to me, it's clunky. It doesn't move, format, do all the options as a standalone thing.
Well,
Again, that's, like I said, that's just a me problem, So I
it might
understand
not
to
be.
me.
Part of the there's a few things going on here. One, it's when I set up the Nextcloud. What we're working with on our show, and this has been working for years now, we've got a bare metal installation of Nextcloud, which is not how it's supposed to be done, apparently.
Yeah.
But the document server, the Calibra server, which is another server element that you need, that's running in a Docker container. So there is like a few different ways this is happening that's not well orchestrated together. The way the officially supported way of doing it. I'm doing it kind of a mixture of ways because I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning. I was learning it as I went. I just knew that you would have to been there in the beginning. When I first came on the show, we were suffering a few calamities at the same time. We were losing our free web hosting. Our website was, we were at risk of losing our website, our document management, our storage, all that stuff at the same time was getting ready to go away. So some real tough choices had to be made. And I really felt like mintCast had been around so fucking long that it just couldn't die, which I suppose that was the argument made for General Motors, but
too big to fail.
Too big to fail. I'm drinking. Give me a break.
No.
No.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just saying, just from a usability point, I'm not throwing shade on you and how it's set up. It's just one of those things.
Well, the problem with this is that it's a full fat version. It's as if they took. There must be a reason why Microsoft and Google did not put a full featured document management solution on their website. They put a more streamlined version of it online,
Yep.
Because what we end up with this Calabra thing is it's a bit unruly. It doesn't feel consistent. It doesn't feel, because our document has been brought over from Google Docs. The original template that we work with for our show notes was originally made on Google Docs, and that shouldn't make any difference whatsoever. But for some reason, there's a strangeness to it that when you try to recreate the flow of that document, it just doesn't seem to work, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So
worries. No. I know you'd said that. Yeah, on your long-term project is to redo the infrastructure and run everything in a Docker, so it's more consistent and easier to use. So yeah, I get it.
Honestly, it's not a big job on paper, and I do have it on paper. I've got it listed out step by step what needs to be done on paper, but it's just getting up the nerve to building these servers and getting them up and running, and then having all of this infrastructure running at my whim, and I'm just some truck driver, that figured out how to get all this working. It's quite a bit to believe that I'm able to do all that, let alone tear it down and rebuild it again. So, I'll admit that there's some emotional challenge involved in that. But once I get it rebuilt, it's going to be with the officially supported all-in-one image, and then we'll be able to switch to the only Office document management. And then the cool thing is, if we decide, what, this sucks worse, let's just go back to what we was using. Then it's just you untick that box and tick the other one and go back. Or if we decide, you know what, this was a great experiment, but this really sucked. We need to go back to Google Docs and just accept that there's certain things.
No, not that. Not Google Docs. No, not that.
Well, that was the other thing. About the same time that all that was going on, there was this huge story out there about a guy being brought up for charges or something like that because he had taken pictures of his infant son. Yeah, you remember this thing? And
Yep.
And it really got us to thinking, do we really trust Google, as Google just goes all in with AI technologies to handle all of these very human decisions that need to be made? Do we really want to trust this company with the information or all of the stuff that we make? And I don't remember if I bullied the whole thing or if we decided on our own or what, but one way or the other, it kind of got decided that we were going to try the Nextcloud method.
Sorry. No, I think it's just always been problematic for that, the office part of it, the editor part. Everything else is great about Nextcloud. I think in terms of like being a place to store files, I mean, the calendar, I mean, most of the stuff that's there works really well, and it's used widely enough by businesses and people who rely on it to work properly, and so it has become a very robust back end for things. I like a platform, and then you can expand on it, extend it with extensions and stuff. But yeah, I think the Office thing is just one of those, it just doesn't work well and I think that's the part that is the most confounding, is they keep adding new features, they keep moving it forward, but it seems like they just haven't figured out how to make it work fluidly and stable. Like, it's just the frustrating part was like the lag between typing and when the characters would appear on the screen. Like, that was the part that just made it impossible for me to use, because like I would literally be typing and look up and nothing I typed in the last 5 seconds was on the screen.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden it would just go, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, and then someone else would be dicking around and moving the cursor, and like I've got the things I mean, it was just
well, that's not been a problem lately though, has it?
I haven't edited anything in there for months, so honestly I don't know.
I mean, like when you're reading it online, when we're making a show and somebody's editing the notes as you're talking, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and like it would jump and like you'd lose your place. Or I remember one time, and this was early on, so I didn't want to cop to it, but I clicked the dark mode, and apparently it affected everyone, because everyone went, "Whoa, what happened?" And I went, "Mm-hmm."
I've tried that dark mode too, just to keep it from shining on my glasses, and just to see if it would help a little bit. But it's okay, but depending on how some of the text is rendered, it'll make some of the text unreadable. So I mean, it's not perfect. And frankly, the version of the Docker container that it's been running on is almost a year old now, because there was a problem with it and I had to downgrade the version, and then I never upgraded it back up. So it works, so I don't screw with it. And it complains every time I open it up that it needs updated, but I'm like, I'm just gonna my other shows are using, and I've got a personal Nextcloud running on the all-in-one, and it's just it's brainless to run that all-in-one version, because it tells you, it keeps everything up to date automatically. I mean, it's just a better way of doing it. But I didn't know anything about that when I first set all this up. I don't think that existed when I first set up all of this to run.
Yeah. I think when you end up switching over to the Docker image, it'll probably make life easier because that's just the way they've chosen to deploy it. That's how they're supporting
Yeah.
deploying it. And, when they put all of their effort into that, doing it another way is just, and like you said, you just didn't know any better. I would have done the same thing probably. So.
I didn't know anything when I first started it. I mean, I was learning networking, just basic concepts of building servers, and all of the things that you need to know. And then on top of that, Docker. At the same time, I was learning all these things.
Yep.
And a lot of that is because of my some of my personality. Narcissism and all that, well, I'm the one that needs to save everybody here, that kind of thing,
All right, listen, I think you did a great thing. Otherwise, it would still just be, a collection of documents, files on on the
It probably
Google
would have
Drive.
been, it would have
somewhere,
probably kept going and been just fine had I never come along, but, I felt like I needed to be a hero, and
you know what? It was as much about you learning something new as anything else, and I think that's just fine.
Yeah, and I did enjoy that. So, well, we've been on here for almost an hour and a half.
Yep, sounds like a wrap.
Sounds like a wrap. You gonna be all right, Joe? I'm a little worried about you.
It says 20 degrees there.
Yeah, and the snow's coming down really hard. Well, it's freezing ice. I did have some trouble driving to the gym, and I had not as much trouble driving back, but I'm concerned because my daughter, who's never driven on snow and ice, is currently at work. And they keep pushing back the time she's going to get off of work. And I might have to go and pick her up because I really don't think that she should drive on these roads.
How far away?
I agree with you.
15-ish miles. Hold on, let me look.
If you can swing it, go get her, because if she's never dealt with it, like
it's It's not like I got like a truck or anything.
No, but it's just knowing how to drive on it.
Yeah,
because it really does. It does. It's not like ice matters. Pick it up.
10 miles.
It's not like ice, like it matters with four-wheel drive or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a heavy ass
Bug your
Buick,
dad.
which is
Good girl.
helpful. So.
At least let her follow you or something. I don't know.
Stay warm.
Yeah. Maybe follow. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because she does need to get the experience.
I have this lovely electric blanket right here, so
nice,
and it's cranked up.
I see. You look very cozy.
I am. I got my gator neck. I got my long sleeve shirt. I'm still wearing my workout gloves. I just haven't taken them off. I suppose I could grab a different pair of gloves, but I'm good for right now. I'll make myself some coffee here in a little bit, just to stay warm.
Good idea.
Where's she work at?
All right.
Hang in there.
Yep. All right, we'll see you guys.
Yeah.